Hey, my name is Mike Stenhouse, the Director of VM Residential, and I just wanted to share a couple of tips with you that we employ across the majority of our properties that significantly increase the amount of money that we can get from renting out our properties and also seriously reduce the amount of time it takes us to find great tenants for them. Now, this is based on a presentation that I did recently at the Manchester Property Investors Network, where we present every month a little bit about an update on the lettings market generally, any new rules and regulations that have come into effect that our landlords need to be aware of, but also where we give tips and advice on exactly this, making more money from your property, making the managing of them easier, and ultimately making our life as landlords easier. And I started off this presentation by doing a pop quiz, and as you'll see when I bring out the props, very similar to the props that I had there on the night. It's not the most difficult pop quiz. I like to take the mick a little bit with our audience, try to keep them engaged somewhat, but I started off with 3 props and asked the audience what they were, and let's see if you can identify them. It's not the most difficult thing in the world, but started off holding up something very similar to this. Obviously it's a cushion. It's not exactly the most difficult thing in the world to guess, so we started off with that. Then the next thing that came out of the bag was something very similar to this, and everyone in the room was like, well, obviously Mike, it's a candle. So yeah, not the most difficult pop quiz. And the final thing I brought out was something that looked very similar to this, a bottle of wine. Now, most people in the room were able to guess what these 3 things were. Some of the people in the room who thought they were the comedians obviously said that it was props for a dirty movie or for my date night or whatever. But the point I was trying to make is that it's not so much what the specific props are, but more what they represent. And to me, and what I'm trying to get them to represent to our audience, our customers, our tenants, is a lifestyle. The fact that we as landlords and property owners care about our properties and our tenants, our customers, to the extent that we're willing to go the extra effort. And we use these, well, for a start, the fact that I'm not in my own home filming this, I'm up at my parents' for the weekend, and within 2 or 3 minutes, I was able to find exactly the same props in this house as I was in our own home where I pinched them from the first time. I almost guarantee that if you go and have a look around your house, you'll be able to find little bits and pieces like this that can dress your property up and increase the profit significantly. And you're probably thinking, yeah, I agree with the first part. I can go and find a lot of this stuff really easily around my home. Everyone's got it. You've got gifts that you don't necessarily like, they're stuffed in a cupboard. You've got throws and cushions on your sofa or your bed. You've got candles, bottles of wine, placemats, glasses of wine, everything that you need to dress a property you can get around your home. So it's really basically a free way of generating more income. But what you're maybe not necessarily agreeing with is the fact that you can use things like this to increase the profit from your property. So what I did on the night was I showed a case study of one of the most recent properties that we have let for one of our landlords. He was really struggling with it before he got in touch with us. It had been on the market for a month. It was a 6-bed HMO that he had just renovated, and ideally it should have been making him $2.5 grand a month, but it had sat empty with the other agent for a month. Not a single tenant was lined up after 4 weeks of it being on the market. So if we switch over now, and I'll show you some of the pictures from this property, I'll talk you through why it wasn't renting out and how little things like these touches were able to turn around his success virtually overnight. So this is a picture of one of the rooms that the previous agent was using to market the property. And at first glance, it's nothing overly offensive. It's obviously, well, there's a little bit of a sofa there, there's a little bit of a dining table there. You can almost tell that this is the communal space, the magnolia walls, the picture on the wall. It's obviously not a bomb site, it's not a really bad property, but it definitely doesn't do it the justice that it deserves. So what we did, and I want to reiterate again the fact that everything we did was free because the props were just pinched from our house, and easy because it took me literally 10 minutes to get this room set up. So what we did was, in this next picture I'm going to show you, is just add a few little touches that make the property feel so much more personable, give it so much more warmth and character, and make it a much nicer place to be. So we started off Firstly, just by turning the lights on, and you can see straight away that that adds a lot of warmth to the room. We also changed the angle that we took the picture from. So rather than trying to get a sofa and a dining table in next to each other, we took it from behind the dining table looking down the room so you can see the full extent of the space that you've got available. We also added throws and cushions to the sofa, as you can see in these two middle red circles. On the right hand side, we threw a couple of magazines on the coffee table, and absolutely, you can't really see what the magazines are. It's hard to tell they even are magazines, but it just shows a little bit of lived-in-ness, if that's even a word, in the house. It makes it feel like people belong there, people want to make this their home. And then obviously on the dining table at the front, rather than just having an empty table, we dressed it. We put some napkins, some wine glasses. We made a lifestyle design, making people want to come in and have their dinner there. Made a huge difference, I think, if you'd agree, between the picture on the left hand side and then the picture that we ultimately used in the advert on the right hand side. Now, another example of this, and again, this is a genuine image taken from their advert before we got involved. This is a bedroom, and you need to kind of cock your head 90 degrees to the left to see that it is a bedroom. They had their picture on at completely the wrong angle. I don't know why they didn't take the 5 seconds to hit the rotate button on their photo editing software, but I mean, it blows my mind away that professional letting agents post pictures like this. I just can't understand it. So again, if you look at the image that we did, exactly the same room. We started off with exactly the same basic furniture, and the walls, we haven't changed the color of the walls or the carpet or the wallpaper. It's exactly the same room. We just put in a few little touches and made a few little changes to the way that the picture was taken. So again, we changed the angle. We made sure that the camera was set the right way so that you don't need to twist your head to see what the room is. We put some bedding on the bed. We used a little cushion. We put some little accessories on top of the chest of drawers and on the desk over here. And it just makes it feel like such a nice room compared to the blurry image on the left hand side. And you're probably, hopefully, agreeing that these changes do make a big impact to the visual appeal of the property. But as I said at the start, the whole point of this is to make it so that it makes you more money. How did this actually affect the landlord's income? Well, if we look before VM got involved, it had been on the market for 1 month. At the end of that month, they had 0 tenants, they had 0 applicants lined up to become tenants, and they had achieved 0 rental income on the property in that period of time. After we got involved and after we made these minor changes, we had 4 rooms let within 24 hours, 4 out of the 6 rooms. The remaining 2 were let, and the whole house was tenanted within 3 weeks of us being instructed on this property, giving the landlord £2,325 worth of rental income, and it cost him not a single penny more than our letting fees. He didn't have to go out and buy any of these props, he didn't have to pay us for our photography, and he was able to stop forking out money for his mortgage and his bills because the tenants were now bringing him in an income. It was a fantastic transformation, if I may say so myself, and as I keep trying to reiterate, the whole point of this is that it was so simple. You do not need a letting agency to do this. You can do it yourself just by going around your house, finding a few nice accessories that you've got lying around and using them and a bit of camera skills to transform your adverts and make them really stand out. And that is so important, particularly as the market gets more and more competitive. And I'm not just talking about HMOs here. These tips are equally as applicable to single lets, and also if you're trying to sell your home. Just by putting in a little bit of effort on the finishing touches, you can significantly increase the income you get and reduce your void periods, which ultimately has the same effect in increasing your income. So take that little bit of effort, show your tenants, your customers, that you not only care about the property, but you also care about them, and your success, whether it's in rentals or in flipping houses, selling them on, will grow phenomenally. Now, we're always learning. We don't claim to know it all, but as we do learn and as we do improve our own business, we're happy to share these tips with our landlords and with our audience. So by all means, if you want to keep up to date, not only with legislation that's coming in that's affecting us as landlords and property owners, but also with tips on how we can increase our income and minimize our void periods and generally just manage our properties better, please feel free to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/vmresidential, and we'll continue to post tips and advice like this as they come to us, and hopefully we will help you have a much better success in your own property journey. Thanks a lot.